It began as a whisper in her body, an itch she brushed off. Soon, the itch turned into burning, the burning into a foul odor. And then worms. Live, crawling worms spilling from the place she once believed gave her power. Her beauty was rotting from the inside. But this horror did not start overnight. No, it was the result of choices, of nights spent in hotel rooms with strangers, of laughter drenched in perfume and champagne. Soohia never imagined that her glowing caramel skin and her tall, striking figure would one day betray her. She had believed her body was her weapon, her key, her golden ticket to a world of wealth. Now, as she stared at herself in the mirror, trembling, broken, her once neat afro untidy with neglect, she whispered, "Why me?" The pain, the stench, the crawling sensation beneath her skin, it was a torment she could not explain. But to understand how Soohia reached this point, we must return to her life before the darkness. The life of glamour, temptation, and pride. Soohia was only 22, yet she lived like a queen in the city of Abuja. Tall, elegant, her caramel skin glowing under the city lights, her afro perfectly styled. She was the definition of beauty. By day, she worked as a sales representative at a luxury boutique. Clients adored her. Wealthy wives whispered about her beauty. Men lingered too long when she smiled. But Soohia had a secret. The boutique was only her stage. The real performance happened at night. Politicians, businessmen, foreign investors, and even old billionaires, they paid dearly for her attention. They showered her with money, designer handbags, gold jewelry, and cars that most girls only saw in magazines. Soohia believed she had it all. "Why should I struggle when men are ready to pay for what I already have?" she often laughed with her friends. Her apartment was a palace. Imported curtains, marble floors, perfumes from Paris lined her dresser. Every weekend, she was at exclusive clubs, clinking glasses, her laughter floating above the music. To many, she was a goddess of Abuja nights. But beneath the glamour, a storm was gathering. And Soohia was blind to it. Soohia loved the night because it hid her truth. During the day, she was the polished boutique sales rep, attending to clients with poise. But at night, the shadows concealed the deals she made with wealthy men who craved her body. They saw her as a dream, a youthful goddess who could make them feel alive again. And Soohia, she gave them what they wanted. Sometimes for cash, sometimes for diamonds, sometimes for power. She told herself it was harmless. "I'm not hurting anyone," she whispered as she slipped into satin sheets after another long night. The world admired her glow, her elegance. They didn't know that behind the glow was a young woman who had traded innocence for wealth. Her friends envied her lifestyle. They saw her dresses, her vacations, her shopping sprees. But they didn't see her silence after each encounter. They didn't see the way she sometimes stared at herself in the mirror, asking quietly, "Who am I becoming?" Still, Soohia silenced the questions with another night of pleasure, another night of wealth, another night closer to the wrong man. It was a Friday night when she met him. A man who looked no different from the others, wealthy, confident, with an aura of power. He stepped into the boutique earlier that day, buying gifts worth millions, his eyes never leaving Soohia. Later that night, their paths crossed again at an exclusive lounge in Abuja. He approached her with charm that disarmed her. His voice was deep, his smile gentle, his touch warm. "You're different," he whispered, brushing a stray strand of her afro. Soohia laughed, the way she always did with men who tried too hard. But this man wasn't trying. He was pulling, slowly, steadily, into his world. By the end of the night, Soohia was in his arms. She didn't know his name, beyond the one he gave her. She didn't ask too many questions. All she saw was wealth, power, and the promise of more. What she didn't see was the darkness behind his eyes. A darkness that had already chosen her as its prey. The morning after their night together, Soohia felt fine. She hummed as she dressed, slipping into her designer gown, adjusting her neat afro in the mirror. She laughed at herself, remembering his words, "You're different." But that afternoon, while attending to a customer at the boutique, she felt it. A tiny itch, barely noticeable, but uncomfortable. She brushed it off, thinking it was nothing. By evening, the itch had grown. By night, it was burning. Maybe it's an infection, she told herself. She had money. She would buy medicine.
She would be fine.
But as days passed, the burning deepened. Then came the smell. Faint at first, then stronger, foul, unbearable. Soohia hid it with perfumes, with scented oils. But no matter how much she tried, the stench lingered. Her beauty was her weapon, her shield. Now, it was under attack from something she couldn't control. And this was just the beginning. At first, Soohia kept her secret. She told no one about the itching, the burning, the smell. She drowned herself in perfumes, body sprays, scented oils, anything to mask what was slowly eating her alive. But the body never lies. Customers at the boutique began to wrinkle their noses, whispering to one another. Friends who hugged her at parties pulled away quickly, their smiles fading too soon. Soohia noticed, but she laughed it off. Maybe they're jealous, she told herself. Deep down, she knew something was wrong, something bigger than an infection. At night, when the burning grew unbearable, she sat alone in her room, rocking back and forth, whispering, "It will pass. It will pass." Yet it did not pass. The stench grew heavier, the burning more violent. And then came the crawling. That night, Soohia looked down at herself in horror, seeing movement where no movement should ever be. She screamed, clutching her body, trembling, crying, "No, no, no, no." For the first time in years, Soohia felt powerless. The next morning, she called her closest friend, Sandra. Sandra rushed over, concerned, but the moment she entered Sophia's apartment, her face twisted. "Soohia, what is that smell?" Soohia broke down. For the first time, she confessed. She showed her. Sandra's eyes widened in disbelief. Worms. Actual, live worms spilling from her private part. Sandra screamed, covering her mouth, backing away. This can't be real. But it was real. Within an hour, Soohia was rushed to a private hospital. Doctors examined her. They shook their heads, muttering under their breath. Tests after tests. Injections. Medications. But nothing stopped the burning. Nothing killed the smell. Nothing drove away the worms. Soohia clutched Sandra's hand, weeping. "Please don't leave me. I don't want to die." Sandra tried to be strong, whispering, "We'll fix this, sophomore. We'll fix it." But even Sandra could not hide the fear in her eyes. For the first time, Soohia realized, not every sickness has a cure. Days turned into weeks. Soohia was moved from one hospital to another. Private clinics, government hospitals, even herbalists dressed in white coats. Each one promised hope. Each one failed. Some doctors whispered strange words. "This isn't medical." Others looked away, refusing to speak at all. Soohia screamed at them, clawing at the bed sheets. "Help me. Please help me." But no one could. She began to waste away. Her once glowing caramel skin lost its shine. Her tall figure bent with weakness. Her afro, once neatly styled, became rough and unkempt. Her reflection in the mirror mocked her. The goddess of Abuja nights was gone. What stared back was a shadow, a rotting shadow. And outside those hospital walls, the city kept moving. The boutiques still glittered. The clubs still boomed with music. The same men who once adored her had already found other young women. Soohia was forgotten. At first, her friends came around. They brought fruits, perfumes, flowers. They whispered, "Soohia will be fine, she's too strong to fall like this." But as the stench worsened, as the worms multiplied, the visits slowed. One by one, they stopped coming. Sandra, her closest friend, stayed the longest. But even Sandra began to avoid the calls, her excuses piling up. Soohia noticed. She always noticed. Lying in her hospital bed, staring at the door, waiting for footsteps that never came. She felt it, abandonment. The same friends who once cheered her at the club, who posed with her for pictures, now pretended she didn't exist. Their silence was louder than words. Soohia cried, clutching her pillow, whispering through broken sobs, "Where are you now? Where are you now when I need you most?" The laughter of the past haunted her ears. And in that loneliness, she finally began to understand. Beauty fades, wealth disappears, but true love, she never had it. When word reached her family, they were shocked. Her mother traveled to Abuja, trembling as she saw her daughter. Soohia tried to smile, but her mother covered her nose, tears streaming down her face. "My child, what happened to you?" Soohia couldn't answer. How could she? How could she explain the nights of men, the money, the secrets, the wrong man who had cursed her? Her siblings stood far from the hospital bed. They whispered among themselves. She brought this upon herself. The shame was heavy. Neighbors began to gossip back home. "That girl who used to show off on Instagram, she's dying in Abuja." Soohia's father refused to visit. He sent a short message through her brother. She chose her path. Her heart broke. For the first time, she realized she was truly alone. And as she lay in the cold hospital room, worms crawling, skin decaying, family turning their backs, Soohia whispered, "So this is how it ends?" But the end had only just begun. The nights became her enemy. When the hospital lights dimmed, when the corridors grew silent, Soohia felt it more intensely. The crawling, the biting, the burning. She clutched her bedsheets, her body shaking violently. Sometimes, she screamed until her throat went dry. Other times, she cried softly, whispering to herself, "Please God, take this away, take this away." But the torment did not stop. Nurses avoided her room. Even the cleaners muttered prayers as they passed by her door. Her smell, her suffering, had turned her into a ghost while she was still alive. And every night, in the silence of pain, Soohia saw his face. The man, the wrong man. His smile haunted her mind. His words replayed endlessly. "You're different. Different indeed." He had marked her. He had used her. And now he was feasting on her life from afar. Soohia understood one thing. This was no sickness. This was a ritual. One evening, a nurse, a quiet woman with tired eyes, bent close to Soohia and whispered, "Child, no medicine will help you. This is deeper than science. Whoever you laid with has taken something from you." Soohia's eyes widened. She grabbed the nurse's wrist. "Tell me, what do you mean?" The nurse hesitated, then whispered again. "This is not an infection. This is spiritual, a covenant of blood and body. You have been used." Soohia's lips trembled. Used. The word echoed through her mind like thunder. She remembered the man's touch, his strange calmness, the way his eyes lingered longer than normal. Could it be? Was he the one? She shook her head violently, whispering, "No, no, no." But deep inside, she knew. The signs were clear. He was not just any man. He was a predator of souls. And she was his prey. One morning, after another restless night, Soohia forced herself to the bathroom mirror. Her legs were weak, her body frail, but she needed to see herself. She needed to know what remained. What she saw broke her. Her caramel skin was pale and patchy. Her once bright eyes were dull, ringed with shadows. Her afro, once her pride, hung tangled and lifeless. But worst of all, her private part was a wound. A festering wound, crawling with worms, oozing decay. Soohia fell to the floor, screaming at the top of her lungs. No. God, please. Please no. She clawed at her skin as though she could tear the horror away. But no matter how much she screamed, the reflection remained. Her beauty, her weapon, her pride, her identity was gone. What stared back at her was not Soohia the goddess, but Soohia the cursed. And in that moment, she finally admitted, death would be kinder than this. By now, her friends were gone. Her family had withdrawn. The hospitals had given up. Soohia was left alone, abandoned, like a discarded object. Her phone, once buzzing with calls, was silent. The men who once begged for her attention had blocked her. The friends who once cheered with her on Instagram now scrolled past her suffering without a thought. Even her family sent only brief messages. "We are praying for you." But they never came. Alone in that cold room, Soohia thought back to her past. The shopping sprees, the vacations, the laughter over glasses of champagne. She remembered the night she said proudly, "I'll never suffer. Men will always take care of me." Now no man came. No friend came. No one came. Soohia was a queen no longer. She was a prisoner of her own choices, chained by a curse she had willingly embraced. One night, half asleep, she saw him again. Not in person, but in her dream. The man. His face appeared before her, smiling as always. But this time his smile stretched wider, darker, until his teeth gleamed like knives. "You are beautiful," he whispered. "Perfect. Exactly what I needed. Thank you, Soohia, for giving me life." Soohia jolted awake, sweating, shaking. She could still hear his voice in her ears. She knew then, without doubt, that he had taken her essence, her soul, her body, for rituals. He had traded her beauty for his wealth. And the worms, the decay, were the proof of her sacrifice. She cried until dawn, whispering, "God, forgive me. God, forgive me." But forgiveness felt far away. The curse was already in motion. Soohia's body was wasting away. Her once glowing caramel skin had turned pale and patchy. Her tall figure was now just bones under loose flesh. She could hardly stand, and even lifting a glass of water left her trembling. The worms, they multiplied daily. They crawled relentlessly, and the smell was unbearable. Her mother returned, this time with a well-known pastor. "This child needs deliverance," her mother cried, her voice breaking with desperation. The pastor, a man in a white robe, entered the hospital room with anointing oil in one hand and a Bible in the other. He placed his palm on Soohia's forehead. He shouted in prayer, commanding spirits to leave. His voice echoed in the room. "Every spirit of death, release her now. Every curse, be broken." Nurses stood outside, listening, whispering among themselves. Soohia cried as the oil dripped down her face. She screamed when he pressed his hand on her stomach. For hours, he prayed and prayed, sweat dripping down his face until his voice weakened. Finally, he stepped back, his eyes heavy with defeat. "This is beyond me," he whispered. "She has been offered already. Whoever did this has sealed it." Soohia reached out weakly, grabbing her mother's hand, sobbing, "Don't leave me, please don't leave me." But her mother could not stop the tears. She kissed her daughter's forehead and left the room quietly, her shoulders trembling with grief. Soohia watched her go and knew, deep in her soul, that this was the last time she would see her mother alive. The days that followed were darker than any before. Soohia no longer had the strength to sit up. Her body was fragile, shaking with every breath. She could no longer eat without vomiting. The worms seemed to mock her, spilling out, crawling across her sheets. One evening she tried to stand. Her body swayed, her knees buckled, and she crashed onto the cold floor. Her voice was weak, her throat dry as she whispered, "Help me, someone help me," but no one came. Nurses avoided her room. The stench made them shiver. Some muttered prayers, others shook their heads, saying, "This girl is finished." Lying on the floor, Soohia remembered her past life. The boutiques filled with diamonds, the nights of laughter in expensive clubs, the old men who praised her beauty as though she were a goddess. But now, what were those memories worth? They only mocked her, reminding her of how far she had fallen. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "I don't want to die like this. Please, God, please." But her body did not listen. Her chest rose and fell, slowly, painfully, as though each breath was her last. Alone, abandoned, she lay there, waiting for the end. When Soohia finally slipped away, her death shook Abuja like a whisper in the wind. It was not an official announcement. No newspaper carried her story. But in boutiques, in clubs, in salons, her name became a topic. She was so young, so beautiful, such a waste, some said, shaking their heads. Others were harsher. That's what happens when you sell your body for money. God does not sleep. Her so-called friends, the ones who had abandoned her in her sickness, suddenly reappeared online. They posted glamorous old pictures of Soohia, adding captions like, "Rest in peace, babe gone too soon." Comments flooded under the posts, crying emojis, "She was such a queen. This world is wicked." But behind closed doors, those same friends were relieved it wasn't them. They whispered in private chats, "This could have been me." The men who once lavished her with gifts never mentioned her name again. In their world, Soohia had been erased. They moved on to younger girls, repeating the same cycle. And the man who cursed her? He grew richer, more powerful. Somewhere in Abuja, he sat in his mansion, sipping wine, smiling to himself. His wealth had been bought with Soohia's life. Soohia's story became a warning, a ghostly tale whispered among young women in the city. Some listened carefully. "Did you hear what happened to Soohia? She died in shame, all because of money." Mothers used her name as a caution. "Don't end up like Soohia," they told their daughters. But not everyone listened. In the glowing streets of Abuja, another group of young women strutted proudly, their faces painted, their bodies dressed in gold. They still chased after men old enough to be their fathers, laughing, clinking glasses, saying, "It won't be me." Soohia's story was a mirror, but most turned away from their reflection. If only they had seen the truth. Beauty fades, wealth disappears, and every decision has a price. Soohia's price had been her very soul. Her tragedy remained unspoken in public places, but in whispers and hushed tones at night, her name lingered. The girl who sold her body for wealth, only to have her body eaten alive. Soohia's life ended in silence, in worms, in shame. Her glowing skin turned pale, her afro grew unkempt, her tall figure wasted into bones. Her beauty, her weapon, her pride rotted away before her eyes. Her wealth vanished, her friends betrayed her, her family abandoned her. And all because she trusted the wrong man, a man who saw her not as a woman, but as a sacrifice. Her story is not just a tragedy. It is a warning, a reminder that shortcuts always demand a price, that money earned through sin carries a curse, and that no wealth is worth the loss of your soul. So, as you listen now, pause and reflect. What path are you walking? What choices are you making? Could your story end like Soohia's? If this story touched you, if it opened your eyes, if it moved you, don't just watch silently. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. Because somewhere right now, another Soohia's story is already beginning.